Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. And welcome back to another edition of the show. This is a very special Friday night edition of Grande's Graveyard. I know they're few and far between, but speaking of Fridays, this guy was on the last Friday the 13th show we did. He is the one, the only, the explorer of horror. Nate, what's going on, good brother Nate?
Oh man, just chilling. I had a fishing trip earlier today. I was enjoying the weather. It's maybe a little bit sunburn. I don't know. Hopefully not, but
I think you got a nice tan going, man.
Yeah.
How did the fishing go? What did you catch anything?
Bro, honestly, I was walking around for so long and I wasn't catching anything. And I was coming back to where the car was, and my friend stayed there, and I was jealous because he was catching all the fish the whole time. And we were just leaving, and I started getting bites. I'm like, well, I've already been here for a long time, so I was heading out. I was like, I could have gotten fish and I did all this walking, and I still couldn't catch anything, so I was kind of salty. But it was fun, man. It was a nice day. So,
oh, dude, yeah, it's beautiful out right now. I know we have rain in the forecast for tomorrow, which fucking sucks, but it was a beautiful day out today. Are you usually a big fish eater? Are you a big fish guy?
Yeah, I can eat fish, seafood. My favorite is, which weird, is bluegill, which I know people are like, bluegill, why would but bluegill has a good taste to it. Obviously, salmon, tuna, big fan, but yeah, definitely bluegill is my favorite. The way that my dad makes it, he puts seasonings and a little bit of coconut flakes, and sounds weird, but it's good. Believe me, it's good.
I've honestly never even heard of bluegill, so I'm gonna have to give it a whirl. Is it like anything? Is it like cod? Is it like flounder?
It's, I don't know if I can really compare it to anything else. I'm not a big fan of I've tried catfish, which I know some people are probably like, you can eat catfish. Well, you can, but I'm not a big fan of it. It's not very fishy. It has a real kind of smooth taste, and depending on how it's seasoned, I eat it, filleted, fried, seasoned, and I that's my favorite. I've had that. I've had crappie, which is another freshwater fish, which is okay, but my favorite's definitely bluegill. If somebody's cooking up some bluegill, which is usually my dad, I'll go for that for sure.
No doubt. I'm a big seafood guy myself. I actually love some crawfish, man. I'm a big crawfish guy. Shrimp, shellfish, big clams guy, big raw oysters guy.
People think I'm nasty. I eat all that. Squid. I've had squid.
Love squid. Great. Love octopus. Dude, I got to show you. I made octopus like a couple months back. Like charred octopus. It's fucking delicious.
Wow.
Man. I'll show you how it came. I could fucking look it up in between, but it came out really good. Miss C is here. Ciao Grande. I will not be watching this tonight because I haven't seen Guardians 3 yet, but I know your show will be amazing. Cheers. Thank you so much. Cheers to a safe, happy, healthy weekend, Miss C. Mateo is here. Ciao Grande and Nate. Guardians is a great trilogy. My favorite, obviously, it's number 2. I believe that might be somebody else's favorite of the trilogy, and I'm not going to say names here. But 3 is awesome. Love Nebula's arc. Soon, Peter, we will be all there. So stop pissing me off. Awesome. Dude, I love the Guardians movies too, and I'm super excited to get into them tonight. But let me I guess we can wind the clocks back, because I will say this. I'm not as a diehard as MCU as most people are. There are some of the movies I've liked, some of the movies I haven't, but winding the clocks back to 2014, I believe it was, when this first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out, which is crazy. It's almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Happened. I was in high school, which means you probably would have been, what, middle school?
Yeah, I was in middle school when the first Guardians came out.
Holy shit. So we were both we have not even gone to college when this fucking movie came out. It's wild. I remember at this time you had the big MCU movies coming up. You had Iron Man, the sequels. You had Thor, you had Captain America, the First Avenger. You had all these movies that were kind of coming out, making a lot of noise, and holy shit, they're doing a universe. Holy crap. And then here came this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, which I remember, and I've never been so happy to be fucking wrong in my life, but I remember when I heard about it, the first thing I said was, it's going to bomb. I said, I think it's going to bomb because of a few things. Number one, they're not as well known of a comic. It's definitely not as well known an entity as those 3 I just mentioned before. The big 3, as people would say. I mean, I I remember when I heard Batista got casted as Drax, I was like, Batista? At that time, I was like, really? Fucking. And of course, I don't know if you remember the whole pay-per-view where he came out with Evolution against the Shield and he came out in the blue.
The blue. Yeah, Blue
Tista. You
Tista.
remember that?
Yeah.
That was one of the funniest things I ever saw was Batista came out in blue attire and it trended worldwide. People making fun of him, calling him Blue Tista as Drax. And I was like, oh my God, this is just going to be a nightmare. Like I pictured it being a total fucking bomb in my mind. And then I saw the movie and I was blown away by the fucking movie. I was like, wow, like I am so wrong. I've never been so happy to be wrong. And I mean, this trilogy has become arguably my favorite trilogy. I would say it's arguably my favorite superhero trilogy. It's this or the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, man, for me. I mean, I love all three movies. I think they're all really good ones. But what were your experiences with this one, like when it was coming out? Were you interested? Did you buy into the hype or did you wait years to see it? Like, where were you standing on this if you wind the clock back?
I missed that train. I honestly, I remember even in school, everybody was talking because like that time period. I mean, you had Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I think Age of Ultron was just getting ready to come out. I think I know you had a couple other ones coming out too, like some big releases for the superhero genre. And I didn't really know much about Guardians of the Galaxy at the time. I wasn't really watching MCU because MCU got so big that I was just like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when things get big like that, where literally everywhere you go, everybody's talking about it, just tend to, not anymore, but I used to kind of check out. I was like, all right, this has got its crowd. I'm going to go find my thing.
Yeah.
But I ended up watching the second one and getting introduced to that whole universe through that. Went back and watched the first one and ended up loving it. And so I didn't really have that, what from everybody else went through with the surprise. And I know it was a really big hit and everybody loved it. And honestly, without Guardians of the Galaxy, you wouldn't have the format that MCU has today because every MCU trailer uses a song or tries to have pop culture reference. It's like when Guardians did it, it kind of set that tone. And then like Thor Ragnarok definitely has a more fun tone to it and more of a Guardians of the Galaxy feel. So yeah, I feel like Guardians 1 is definitely one of the most influential MCU movies out there.
I would agree completely. I think when it came out, you're right. Like, because Thor 2 came out in 2013 and bombed. From what I remember, Thor 2, The Dark World, nobody liked that movie. Like, it was a huge fucking, it was too dark. The villain sucked. Natalie Portman was annoying. Like, everybody didn't like Thor 2. And then this movie was really, I think, the fucking precursor to Age of Ultron. I think this was I think the idea was, okay, we'll do this in the meantime, like a smaller film. And what happened was it just blew up. It became a huge hit. I believe it grossed over $800 million, which for an unestablished, unknown, mainly identity, that's astounding money.
Yeah,
absolutely. That it was that big of a fucking hit. And I was so happy to be wrong. I remember seeing it in the theater. I was like, wow. It was like, I am fucking blown away by this. I really, truly liked it. Let's just get a couple comments here before we get more into it. Britt is in the house. Grande Hart, Nate Hart. We love you too, Britt. Good to see you. For me, knowing that Gunn was involved in the project was a big incentive to go watch it. That's a good point because James Gunn, of course, were coming off the Scooby-Doo movies he had written. He had done Slither, which was a huge box office bomb. Unfortunately, he had done Super in 2011, which I actually quite like. And then he gets the job to do this. And man, it really, in my opinion, could have been a big bomb, right? Because you went with a Chris Pratt, who at that time, he was not really a known actor. This is before the Jurassic World days. This was where he was a bit player in Moneyball, which is a great movie. He was also, I believe, a bit role in Her, which is the Joaquin Phoenix movie that got nominated for Best Picture, where he falls in love with his fucking iPad. Funny enough, played by Black Widow herself, Scarlett Johansson.
Great movie. Love that.
Great movie. Fucking one of few movies that have actually brought me to fucking tears at points. Like, that is a great fucking emotional movie. As Black Widow falls in love with the Joker. Funny enough.
Yeah, weird.
It is very fucking weird. I like was so hesitant, and then everyone, oh, it's great, trust me, it's great. And I went to the movie theater, and I think what my whole takeaway of it was this was the closest we ever got to the original Star Wars from 1977 since that movie. Like, okay, you have
Yeah.
all these new colorful characters, you're in this big space adventure, you're introduced to this whole new colorful world, and we're just kind of thrown into it. There's wonderful music. I think the soundtrack is fantastic in all of these movies. I love the
Mm-hmm.
use of music in these films. And I think at a time where some of these MCU movies were almost like the, versions of classical music or whatever, here comes the punk rock film. I feel like this movie was very, against the grain. It was very against the establishment, and it in turn templated what would come on after it. Like you were saying, it's how many fucking Marvel movies are trying to be this template, and they're only imitations at the end of the day. I don't think they're
Mm-hmm.
nearly as good or charming as this movie right here. But let's get into some of the cast, because I really
Great
like this
cast.
cast, man. What do you think of Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana as the two like main heroic leads?
Yeah, I love them. I think they both nail the characters. They really just did a fantastic job and going from one point to the other, growing as characters, because they don't start off obviously, in love. But as the movies go along, it's real interesting, especially when you get to Guardians 3, where Chris Pratt is still there, but it's, different. It's just different character, different Gamora. So it was interesting seeing that journey and how much Star Lord cares for this character and what he goes through for her. And I think Chris Pratt was the perfect choice to play Star Lord. There's not really anybody else I can think of that I can just think off the top of my head other than Chris Pratt. I think this role, that being such a successful movie and with him doing a great job, would give him so many jobs in the future. I mean, now Chris Pratt is in everything. But he's a good
Yeah.
actor. I like Jurassic World. I like the Super Mario Brothers movie. I liked a lot of these recent movies he was in. I think he was in Wanted a long time ago, which he was like small part in that. But yeah, out of the recent stuff, I really enjoy Chris Pratt. He's a good actor. And I think Zoe Saldana does a great job as Gamora. And she's got to be super rich. I mean, what, like Avatar, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Endgame? Like,
Yeah, she's
she's
in like three or
probably,
$4 billion movies. It's
yeah,
crazy.
she's
And
just probably rolling in the dough.
yeah, she and it's funny because she's always playing a different, like in Avatar, she's blue skin lady. Here she's a green skin lady. And
Hmm.
she even took the role because she wanted to be green skin lady. And funny enough, I was doing my research. She wasn't the original choice. She was choice number two. The original choice was Amanda Seyfried. And I was like, dude,
Interesting.
that never would have fucking worked to me.
No,
I don't think she has
she's the
the,
perfect choice for sure as
yeah,
Gamora. I think
I
she fit
agree.
the role perfectly.
Yeah, I
And she
completely
can
agree with
play
you.
every version of that character. Mad, sad, happy. More of the patient moments. But Gamora, I like how she's always got a chip on her shoulder. And I think Zoe Saldana does a great job at playing that character for sure.
So do I. And I like in the first movie, they open up with Star-Lord and his mother's passing
Yeah.
away from a brain tumor. And of course, then he gets sucked up into the spaceship with Michael Rooker. And like, I think that's a great opening. It's a really
Hmm.
like, all right, like I am into this. And then bam, like the music, like come and get your love as he's dancing. And like that, what a great way to just introduce just a fun movie. It's a movie that it has its serious moments, but it also it has a lot of fun as well. I think Guardians get the tone right, whereas a lot of these Marvel movies sometimes they go a little too far with the dumb, goofy
Yeah.
humor. It's the
It fits
perfect
this movie
balance.
perfectly.
Yeah, it does fit this movie, and like I think he's good. It's like also I think what I like about Star Lord is he's not like as unrelatable for me, at least, as an Iron Man or a Captain America or a Thor. Like, okay, I'm not dashingly good looking like those other three guys. I'm not muscular like any of those other three guys. I'm not a fucking genius millionaire who can build all these wonderful things. Like, I'm just a fucking regular guy. And I think that's the appeal for me of Star-Lord. Just feels like a regular guy that has some tricks and interesting ideas, but he's just an interesting guy that likes to listen to his fucking, cassette player that his mom got him. And I just find the character really relatable. And I like that, the whole humor thing and the whole like way they go about his character. And then of course, Zoe Saldana is, the deadliest warrior in the galaxy, and she kicks ass, and she's the sexiest green woman I've ever seen. I have a big crush on Zoe Saldana. Even she's like 40 something years old.
I know, she looks great.
She does. Like, as in this, I was like, Jesus, like, how does this woman still fucking look attractive at this point?
It's like 10 years later, for Volume 3, and she looks the exact same.
Yeah, dude.
She looks the exact same from Avatar. I was like, God, bro.
Dude, no, that woman is like, she's drinking out of the fountain of youth or something. And she's fucking has the best agent in the world, because whoever Amanda Seyfried's agent is, she should fire his dumb ass, because oh my God. I would never pass it up. Like, to me, if I'm an actor going in Hollywood, you got to try to get one of these Marvel roles. You're set for life. Like Will Poulter, he's set for life. If they keep making more of these, set for life. You're literally set for life if you get one of these. You can even be a background player like Don Cheadle's The War Machine. Dude, you're just cashing those checks, man. It's just easy money, dude. You have to hardly do nothing. But I really like her. And man, I gotta say this, and this is a fact, because I've never really been a big fan of the guy in his other profession, which is pro wrestling, Dave Bautista. I remember being like, you have Dave Bautista is going to be one of the leads of this movie. I was like, they are going to fucking bomb. But he is great as Drax. He's hysterical. He's badass. He looks the part perfectly. He has a great charm to him. I actually cannot believe how much I like Bautista in these movies. Like, coming from someone who I was always like, like I never really I never despised him, but I would never say I was a big Bautista fan. Like, I never. But man, as an actor, I think he's arguably one of the best wrestlers turned actors, at least for me. What would you say? Would you say, is he on the level? Is he better than a Rock? Better than Cena? Better than Stone Cold? Definitely better than Hogan. But would he be better than them?
Oh God,
it's hard.
Yeah, definitely better than.
I asked Hogan. The guy with the Wolfpack shirt on, ladies and gents.
For life. I think he is the best. Because like The Rock, to me, The Rock doesn't play characters. The Rock plays himself. He's always Dwayne Johnson. Every I can't even think of a movie where he plays a character. And I know people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, his characters are The Rock. They're just different names. Like every movie, like at least Stallone, because you could say, well, Stallone, Stallone is a different. In every movie, I just watched I See You, which is a great movie, by the way. And Stallone is completely different in that compared to other roles, because, from Cobra is a guy who's sharp, who's serious, ready to go. I See You, Stallone is more of a lost character. He's, drinking, he's, just going through depression. Yeah, he's different character. And Bautista, I recently seen a movie called Knock at the Cabin. I wasn't a big fan of it. I won't lie. I want to rewatch it, give it another chance, because I know that people were like, just give it another shot, man. I'm like, honestly, I would give that movie another shot. However, I think the best thing about that movie is Bautista. I think his acting was great. It was cool seeing him dial the energy down to where he could show his range as an actor, where he can be a comedic character like Drax, but then he can dial it down and be a serious, down-to-earth character like he is in Knock at the Cabin. So I agree. I think he's the best actor from wrestling out there. I think a lot of the other guys, I don't think Orton was that bad. I know people give him a lot of flack, but I think Orton could have been definitely in more movies. I didn't see a lot of Stone Cold. I like The Rock, but like I said, he just doesn't change his character. He doesn't become a character. I don't see another character. I just see The Rock,
Same with Cena. I don't think Cena's a good actor at all. It's John. He's just playing himself. It's like, oh, we'll have him be the peacemaker. It's just like, it just didn't work, man. Like for me at least, I don't know. I didn't. I like that movie, but he didn't work. Like I don't know. I just don't think John Cena's that good. Like Batista, I went in fully like ready to make fun of him, and I walked out and I was like, you know what? He did a great job. I was like, fucking right on Batista because I think while he's playing in this movie, definitely more so than the other ones, he's definitely a little bit more serious than in the other two. Like in 2 and 3, he's laughing it up the whole time. This movie, it's like, I'll fucking slit somebody's throat. Like that's how we're introduced to him. And as the series goes on, it gets more and more goofy. But I really think this character had a nice heart to him. And the whole story where he lost his wife and daughter, they were slaughtered by Thanos. And he wants to avenge anyone connected to Thanos. He wants their head for himself. The whole way they introduce his character, I think Dave Bautista did a wonderful job in all these movies, and I would even say especially Part 3. Like when we get to Part 3, I think he's like one of the best things in that movie. I love Bautista. We do have a couple questions as we're running through the cast because I was going to bring up Bradley Cooper next. So that's the second question. 2 questions. Do you find Ronan the Accuser a weak villain? I do. Opinions on Bradley Cooper as Rocket? I would say yes to the first question. I
don't like Ronan at all.
That's the only issue I have with the first movie is the villain. It's just not a good villain compared to Kurt Russell's Ego in the sequel, who I think is the best villain of the trilogy. And then the guy in the recent movie, if there was one knock I had on Guardians 3, it might be him. I don't know. I mean, maybe we could talk about him when we get there. But I would say Ronan the Accuser was arguably the weakest villain. It just didn't have much to do. But again, I don't know if it was really about him. It was really more a origin story for this team. And, I can kind of excuse it, like this is not a movie that necessarily needed a great big bad villain performance. You kind of just had to have somebody there for them to beat and conquer at the end. And they do. But I don't know. I always felt he was kind of just a lame villain myself.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's just there to be a puppet for Thanos, and I don't even know. He didn't stick out at all. Nothing about him. I mean, the movie even kind of forgets about him. There's points in the movie where they go like 40 minutes without even showing him, and it's just like, this is supposed to be your villain? Like, even y'all forgot about him. I don't know. MCU always struggles with the villains, man. Always.
It's true. It really is true. Like Thanos was really good. I like James Brolin. But man, you think about a lot of those movies, you don't really have that many great villain performances. Like to the point where in this No Way Home movie, they had to bring back Defoe. They had to bring back Alfred Molina. That was like the first name they announced was Alfred Molina's back. Like before anybody, they announced that he was. I was like, yo, that's because that's how good he was as that character. He was so good as fucking Doc Ock. Like this 20 years later, and everybody still remembers how good he was in that movie. And how do you follow Defoe? You dial it back to 5, and then fucking he just steals Spider-Man too. I love Alfred Molina, but you're right, man. I think a lot of these MCU movies they really suffer with the villains, and this is definitely no exception. But it is what it is. But Bradley Cooper as Rocket, what did you think, man? Because I think he does a great job.
I love him as Rocket. Again, these actors all became the characters. There's not one actor to me that phoned in. There's not one actor that I would change. And out of everyone, I mean, I would have never thought Bradley Cooper because...
Me neither.
To me, nothing about Bradley Cooper seems like it'd be, Rocket, but he disappears, man. Like if you have never told me it was Bradley Cooper, I probably would have just a hard time guessing. I think, he does a great job as Rocket. I wouldn't change that at all.
Neither would I. And I thought the same thing. I was like, Bradley Cooper? Like, I remember being like, you're going to do a voice of, and you're going to get him? Like, have him somehow be in the movie. And funny enough, awkwardly enough, he dated Zoe Saldana, like, right before this movie came out, and they broke up. So I don't know if they ever like shared scene. Granted, I guess they wouldn't because he would be in a soundstage somewhere recording his lines. But like that'd be so fucking awkward for me to be like, oh, it's my ex, and now we're shooting this giant MCU movie that nobody believes. He was
the Star-Lord.
Yeah, for real. Like very odd. I just thought that was always kind of funny. And then of course, rounding out the Guardians in this movie, you have Vin Diesel as Groot, which I did the I am not Grande tonight. I am Groot. Granted, it's just him saying that sentence over and over for 3 movies, and that has got to be the easiest paycheck Vin
Somehow
Diesel
it got over.
Dude, it got over. It got over. And man, props to Vin Diesel because every other movie he makes aside from those Fast and Furious movies always seems to bomb at the box office, whether it be The Last Witch Hunter, whether it be fucking
right, yeah.
The Pacifier, like so many movies
Everything
that guy makes bombs. And man, he comes here, says 3 lines, and got paid for how many fucking movies? It's got to be 5 or 6 movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 movies and then TV special and all that. Like, it's absolutely wild how that got over. But, very cool for Vin Diesel. I like this movie. I think, it effortlessly tells the origin story of how they all meet up in this this jail. And it's like in the beginning, it's more like an escape movie. We have to escape this prison. Rocket has this whole plan where, okay, you got to do this, this, and this. Everybody has something to do. And then, Quill, I need you to get this guy's leg. And then it all fucking awesome action sequence. They get there and here's the guy's leg. Oh my God. I was just kidding.
Playing.
You didn't need to get the guy's leg. You actually did that. Like, I thought that was great. I was just laughing. I was like,
yeah.
That is so funny. It's something that like only Rocket would do. And then I don't know, like I really like the whole universe they create. And I like all the different sorts of planets. I think this movie had a very easier time at creating new atmospheres, new planets than the new Star Wars trilogy did. Like the new Star Wars trilogy, man, like a lot of those planets just feel very cut, copy, and paste.
Yeah, same thing. And this to me was like how Terrifier 2 was to Halloween Ends, where it just upstages Star Wars. Like, to me, it's funny that a Guardians of the Galaxy movie does Star Wars better than Star Wars now.
Yeah.
Like, Star Wars to me is so bland, so just I don't even know how you do it. I don't even know how you make Star Wars boring, bland, and uninteresting. I mean, that's a magical world. But Guardians shows that you can do it and create so many new visuals. There's no excuse. Some people say, well, Star Wars, they've already been to so many planets. They can't really, like, people try to make excuses. It's whatever. But I think Guardians is like proof, like, no, you can still do new, interesting things with new environments and make it fun. And it's just, it upstages Star Wars, at least nowadays. Star Wars, for sure.
Yeah, like, and you look at this trilogy, I think it's the closest that we've ever gotten to the original Star Wars trilogy. Like, and like spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen the 3rd movie, but like this movie, like I was saying before, it has these new colorful characters. We're introduced to all of them, this colorful space adventure. I mean, great origin story. I really like everything. The music is just great in the film. The second one, you have a clash between father and son, which is, again, very similar to Empire Strikes Back, where father meets son and they battle to the death. And then the last movie ends with a big celebration with even more colorful characters that we've been introduced to. Dancing and celebrating and fireworks are going off as we kind of wrap up in a nice little bow. Like, I think this trilogy is so similar to New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, respectively. And man, I mean that in the best, most flattering way I could. Like, I just think they do a great job with all of these movies, and making them feel as original and yet as charming as the Star Wars films. You forgot Bloodshot. Yikes. Thoughts on Bloodshot?
Another bomb.
Another bomb. Yeah, that's true. Lloyd Kaufman cameo in the prison. Yes, that's true. He's also in Suicide Squad. Lloyd Kaufman's in a lot of these. There also, of course, you have the Howard the Duck is in the trilogy and all cameos. He's the post-credit scene in this, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like, what the fuck? They did Howard the Duck? Really? Like, I remember people were saying, oh, they're going to do a Howard the Duck movie. And it obviously never happened because the first
I think it's more of a background gag than anything. It's
what it should be.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Let's not do that. I love the movie Howard the Duck, but
do you really?
I can't sit here and say like, oh, it's remake it. It deserves it. Like, no, it's a disaster, but it's an entertaining disaster.
It is It is. It's like watching a fucking car crash. It's like a very entertaining disaster. I agree with that because George Lucas. Oh, it'll become a cult film. No, it didn't fucking become a cult film.
Yeah, man. They got like they tried. They gave it a special edition DVD, Blu-ray. They gave it a 4K. They've remastered it.
There's a 4K of Howard the Duck. You're shitting me.
I think so. There's so many like special editions. They're trying, man. they're I'll give them effort. They're trying to make it a thing.
I mean, I'm sure they'll try anything once. That's very funny to hear. But no, I really, like I was saying, I really enjoy this movie. I like you. You have Karen Gillan as Nebula, which she's in this movie a villain. They have this whole sibling rivalry between her and Gamora, her and Zoe Saldana. Fun action sequence towards the end. I do think the action sequences are well done in these movies. I think James Gunn does a good job with the choreography and the action sequences. I like the whole finale where, you know, the big bad villain he's ready to conquer. And then, of course, like Chris Pratt and only Star-Lord can make this work. I'm challenging you to a dance-off. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. And like, just, I don't know, so charming in that role. And I like that they all kind of had their moments to shine. In all these movies, they kind of play with the small character arcs. And I don't know. I think it was really just well done in this film. Like, I don't know, like overall, I really loved the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think it was like a very surprising hit for me when it came out. I was like, wow, like that. And to this day, it might be one of, if not the best MCU movies. Like, it's definitely in my top 5 or top 3 MCU movies. I absolutely love it. But where would it rank for you? And is there anything else that you would want to talk about it?
I do like it a lot. I'm kind of one of those rare people though, where I feel like I missed that train and I caught up with it real late. It doesn't really, because I'd already been established to the characters, and so going back and watching the first one, it's much more of a getting the band together type of film. So when I was already used to the cast being together, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where watching it reverse. I like it a lot. I really enjoy it. I think it's definitely one of the better MCU movies. I'm not like a die-hard fan of the first one. I definitely think the sequels improved upon some things, but it's not a bad movie at all, man. It's real fun, real entertaining. It's got some good action scenes, and it switched up the formula from the MCU that we'd been getting, which is a lot of serious, down to earth, very much just this is just a serious action movie with a gray, silver color palette. And this turned it into colorful and just, you know, everything looks great and it's fun and it's got music. And I love the soundtrack. I think
best soundtrack in a movie in the last 10 years for me.
Absolutely. I love the music so much. And it's funny because you think it's just music. It adds to the movie so much.
It adds a great energy
part
to
of it.
Yes.
The soundtracks were big hits too. The soundtracks, because at this time, I mean, soundtracks, like, nobody was buying. I mean, like, even to this day, people like, oh, soundtrack, all right. But this was a huge soundtrack hit. The
vinyl was huge. I think the vinyl sold like 1 million something copies.
Black Panther also had a pretty big hit with the soundtrack. So, yeah, I mean, it was cool to see the music. I love it. I think it's good. I think it's really, really good.
I do too. I think it's a really solid movie. I always really liked it. Ben Grimm says Kevin Smith was set to direct a Howard the Duck show for Hulu after Guardians movies, but Disney cut it. I think that's a good thing they did it because Kevin Smith right now is on a cold streak. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is my favorite MCU movie. I know I saw your mini review. I really enjoy Ben Grimm. If you guys don't follow him on Instagram, he posts awesome written mini reviews of films. And man, I think they're awesome. I'm a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 as well. I don't know if it's my favorite MCU movie, but it would definitely be in my top 5 for sure. Grew up with Howard the Duck, saw it lately, and as a kid, I did not notice the borderline bestiality. Yeah, well, that is something in it, man. That's granted. Fucking, oh my god, that woman is beautiful.
Your intense animal magnetism.
Fucking, we gotta do a Howard the Duck fucking retrospective one of these days. Neon Black Reviews in the house. Neon Neil, welcome, my friend. Cheers, happy Friday.
What's up, Neil?
Hey guys, can't stay long. Just wanted to drop in and say hello, dude. Welcome to the graveyard, my friend. Always good to see your name. Hope all is going well with you, my friend. But yeah, no, the first Guardians to me, it's like either a 9 or a 10. I really, really think it's close to perfect. I guess a 9, just because I do think the villain is weak. Like it's definitely improved upon in the sequel Guardians 2, which we're about to get to now. But I don't know. I really like it. I think it's a magical film. It's one of those movies that comes along, you know, and did come along in the right time. Like it was in between all these bigger movies and somehow managed to shine brighter than it. People watch this and remember this more than Age of Ultron.
Oh,
you know, even though I like Age of Ultron a lot, actually.
Me too.
this movie shines brighter for some reason. I mean, it definitely shines brighter than Thor. It definitely shines brighter than Thor 2 and Captain America 1 and Iron Man sequels. Definitely, like, this is one of the movies that people still mention, still talk about, and I think rightfully so. I think this is the most surprising hit of the entire MCU and one of the best movies that they ever did. But that would lead us 3 years down the road, where at the promised end credits of this, the Guardians of the Galaxy will return. Guardians of the Galaxy return in the sequel here. I didn't read plot synopsis for the first one. I will read it for this one. I apologize. I kind of forgot to. This is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The Guardians struggle to keep it together as a team while dealing with their personal family issues, notably Star-Lord's encounter with his father, the ambitious celestial being Ego. Yes, Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. What, somebody play Mr. Blue Sky and Groot's going to start marking out and dancing with the great motion capture, which apparently that was James Gunn. James Gunn did the motion capture for Groot dancing in the beginning of the film.
That's awesome.
I love the opening. Man, a really fun sequel, a really fucking energetic, fun sequel. And I believe this is your favorite, and I believe Mateo was saying that this is his favorite of the three. Do tell me, man, what was your theater experience like when you saw this in the theater?
This was a very special film because 2017, I wasn't, even at this point, I wasn't really watching Marvel. And this was like around the time that my friend had convinced me. He's like, hey, watch Captain America, the Winter Soldier, man. Just watch it. And I watched it and I was like, wow, I loved that movie. I missed out on that and I felt bad. So I went back and I started binging Marvel, MCU particularly. And then I got invited to go see Guardians Volume 2 in the theater. And like I said, I wasn't really familiar with Guardians 1. I didn't watch it. I wasn't a part of that train. And went and seen it, and the movie blew me away. I thought it was, even to this day, it's probably the most emotional MCU movie. I mean, everything about it, including that great storyline with, Quill and the stuff with Yondu and Rocket, and just the emotion of the movie is what really surprised me, and how much they put into the characters. And I didn't know about them. I was like, okay, here's Rocket Raccoon. Just going by face value here, I guess. I don't know much about him. But the movie still did a great job at introducing these characters to me. And as a sequel, it still does that. And it's real rare that a movie can do that, where the sequel can also do great at introducing the characters. But yeah, it was a great experience, man. I love the action scenes. The effects, I think, are definitely a bump up. It feels bigger, a more grand scale. I love Kurt Russell as Ego. I love the idea of finding out Peter Quill's backstory. And the soundtrack was equally as good as the first one, in my opinion. Baby Groot is awesome. Drax is even more hilarious. That's the thing. The comedy in this fucking movie is so good.
Yes.
I laughed at everything. Every joke landed for me. I know some people thought it didn't. For me, I thought the jokes landed very well. And I walked out of it just like, wow, that was fantastic. I got to go see the first one. And so, yeah, I think this movie was one of those things that made me revisit the MCU and Guardians of the Galaxy in particular, and it got me back to watching MCU. So
that's awesome, man. It sounds like it was the shot in the arm that you needed to get back into this whole, magical universe. And I would have to agree. I think it's great. It's an energetic sequel. Again, I think they fixed the only thing they did wrong in the first movie was a villain, and they fixed it here. You got a fucking legitimate actor and believable big bad wolf in Kurt Russell to play Ego. Of course, I will say this. I know everyone laughs at the CGI Skeet review where I'm bashing Skeet Ulrich and his bad CGI face. They de-aged Kurt Russell amazing in the opening scene of this movie.
It looks great.
I was like, holy shit. You literally would think that was 20-year-old Kurt Russell. It's unbelievable that was old Kurt Russell and they made him look that young. Like, whatever company did that should have been hired for that fucking Skeet Ulrich nonsense.
For real.
because I was mind blown. But I like the whole story where he, went and pretty much spread his seed throughout the universe and fucking. It's fucked
Yeah.
up. Yeah, he fucked all these aliens and humans and everything. He fucked everything that could move to try to get another version of himself, I guess. And they do all this thing where with him. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of a weird, evil plan. And even Ego's planet, I mean, it's just so fucking vibrant and colorful. And it's like a counter Earth, but it's fucking beautiful to look at. It
Oh
almost looks like
yeah.
a Windows 10 screensaver or something, but
Uh-huh.
it's just brought to life by James Gunn in this movie. I really like the look of this world. We're introduced to Mantis, who I fucking love Mantis. Like, Mantis has become one of my favorite fucking characters. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
way she speaks, like, what are you doing? Like, just the way she speaks and shit. I want to get the actress's name because I think she's fantastic in this role. Pom Clementieff. She's a French actress. Unbelievable as Mantis. I mean, I fell in love with Mantis in this movie, and they're teasing Matt like Drax is saying, "You're so hideously ugly," and she can kind of touch you and feel whatever your emotions are. She can put you to sleep. Like Ego has a hard time sleeping, so she puts him to sleep and stuff. We learn in future, I think the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special that she's the sister of Star-Lord. We don't find out in this movie, but yeah, she's Ego's daughter, which they don't mention at all in this film, which is something that I think like somebody was just like, oh, fuck it, let's just do that, just so they have a brother-sister thing can go on. Like, it feels
Yeah.
so tacked on, but I don't know, maybe that was the plan all along. I really like her addition to the team. And I will say this. I think, like, I know we didn't talk much about Michael Rooker in the first movie. I think Michael Rooker steals this fucking movie. Like, as much as I love Kurt
Mm.
Russell as the villain, much as I love all of the Guardians, just as much in this one as I do in the first, it's Michael Rooker's movie for me. Like, I
Yeah.
think he elevates it to a whole fucking different level. Like, the classic, sequels are never good as the original. If Michael Rooker's character was in this movie, yeah, I would say it's a step down. Him being in there, it's right on level with the first movie for me. I love him as fucking Yondu. He has this awesome like arrow, this red arrow that can kind of like fucking just fuck everybody up, and he's just whistles to kind of guide it, and he uses his heart to guide it. And I liked the whole storyline of here was Star-Lord, here was Peter Quill, and he had this long lost father and Ego who he didn't know, and he's introduced to him. He's all gaga for him at first, but he realizes that Michael Rooker says to Pats, yeah, he may be your father, but he's not your daddy. I love that because of course, Michael Rooker's character kind of raised him, even though it was a fucked up way of raising somebody. He did love him in his own way, and I really like Michael Rooker in this film, like to the point where it's like it gets you emotional. The whole aspect of the connection between a father and a son, and does it matter whose blood? Does it matter who really raised you, cared for you, and loved you? Even if it was an abstract way of showing that. I love that. I love that in this film. You do have a little bit of Gamora and Nebula in this film, but it's definitely a little bit more touched on in the third movie than it is here. I don't know. Does it feel to you that maybe Rocket and Groot were just a little bit along for the ride? I don't feel like they have as much to do in this movie than the other two.
Yeah, I think that's a thing with the sequels is that there's some characters that get the spotlight more than others. Like to me, yeah, Rocket, Groot, and to a degree Drax. Like Drax also, I don't think in my opinion, I don't think he had like a whole lot to do, but yeah, it was still cool seeing Peter Quill being more of the focus, and we're starting to see more of his background. It would have been more cool if we could have got more stuff with Rocket and Groot and Drax, and uh, that would have not hurt. But yeah, I think it's definitely noticeable.
Yeah, this
Not as
this
much.
movie more so like the third one. Everybody had the dog had a Cosmo had a fucking arc. Like everybody has an arc in the third movie, which I was like astounded by. But this movie, I'm like, yeah, this is the one where it definitely feels like it's totally Star-Lord centered. Like the whole movie, it's just Star-Lord centered, and Gamora, something's not right. Something it just feels off, and we know it as an audience that something's going to go wrong. Even though Kurt Russell's playing babyface only for so long, where we know he's going to turn fucking heel at some point.
Yeah.
And only Kurt Russell could have played this role to me. Just the charming. I'm your dad. I love you, son, and you can do what I do. They're playing catch with the energy. like how a father and son would have a catch with a baseball in the backyard, just like little things like that I really like that they kind of integrated here, the whole father son angle. And man, I think the finale of this is way better than the finale of the first movie where they battle ego. And you also have this other starship of what were the like the gold people, like I don't even know what they were called.
I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, like because they come back in the third one too, right?
Yeah. Adam Warlock is part of these gold people. That's what I was fucking calling them. People probably be like, "You dumb fuck! They're the fucking species." I'm like, dude, I. That's the thing. I didn't grow up in these comics. I had no fucking previous experience to any of this. I look at the Guardians movies as the Teen Titans movies that I never got, like because like I'm a diehard fan of the Glenn Murakami Teen Titans series. And that's like forever my superhero team. Like here's fucking proof.
Oh, I love Teen Titans as well.
This is like
oh, that's awesome.
That's like my favorite fucking thing ever, superhero wise. And to me, it's very similar Guardians in the way that it's tackled by James Gunn, because again, it's a team. At the end of the day, it's not just Iron Man, and I'm Thor, and I'm Almighty, and I'm all this. It's a team, and it's you're going by character arcs for all of them. So that's why I really enjoy these movies. These I feel are the Teen Titans movies I never got. But like I was saying, that finale is just so much fucking fun as these gold people and Kurt Russell and all these crazy, CGI effects, which I thought for the most part looked really good. And I'm usually a big CGI stickler. I loved the CGI in this movie.
I thought the effects were impressive. Seen it in IMAX, didn't see it in 3D, but I seen it in IMAX, and my God, man. Even at the time, I was impressed. I rewatched this. This is definitely the Guardians of the Galaxy movie I've rewatched the most. I've seen the first one like three times at least, but this one I've seen 4 or 5. I've watched it a lot, and I think the effects really hold up in it.
Same.
It just goes to show that the MCU can have some good CGI. Like nowadays, the CG just seems to be lacking. But I thought in Guardians 3 they looked good, and here it looks good. So
I don't think you could have done this particular finale without CGI. Like I really like this finale calls for CGI. It's like all this stuff that you're wanting to do, you're gonna have to fucking do CGI. Like I love that Baby Groot has to go inside Kurt Russell's like brain type of deal.
Yeah.
And plant the bomb, and Rocket's like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. You gotta hit this fucking button. I am Groot? No, you gotta hit this button. And he's trying I am Groot, and it's just fun. He can't get it, and he's like, all right, so we
anybody got me duct tape?
Or Groot's gonna blow us up now, one or the other. Like I love. He's just like basically we're either gonna die now or die in 5 minutes.
I love the duct tape gag. Anybody got any duct tape? Quill, you got any duct tape? No. Drax, do you have any duct tape? And he's like, doesn't he say yeah? And he's like, Drax, do you have duct tape? No. I thought you had duct tape.
No, I think it's
Wait,
he goes,
how's it go?
We got any tape? And no. And Drax is like, would duct tape work? And he's like, yeah, that would work. Do you have any? He's like, no. He's like, why would you ask if duct tape would work then? My favorite, the hardest I've laughed in any of these movies is in this movie where, and it is Drax, it is somehow Batista that makes me laugh. Mantis is like trying to put Kurt Russell to sleep. She has her 2 fingers on the ground, and she's like trying to will him to sleep so they can get out of there in one piece. And all of a sudden, she just gets fucking whacked by a meteor or a fallen rock or something. She's just crushed, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And fucking Batista's a delayed reaction. He like looks at it, computes it, and he just Mantis, look out! I saw it in the theater. Everybody burst out laughing. Like that was one of the funniest. Like Mantis, look out! Like just hysterical. Like, yo, I love that's so Drax. Like, and if you watch the scene closely, he's looking around like for anything like that to happen. She gets whacked, and he just watches. He's like, Mantis, look out! Like, I thought that was
fantastic,
hysterical, man. Like the humor in this, arguably my favorite of the 3 when it comes to just straight up humor.
Yeah,
I thought it was just really funny. Like
it nails everything because, like in the theater, when it got to the part where she reads Quill's mind, she's like, "You're in love with her." He's like, "Ah!"
She grabs him and she starts laughing.
Yeah,
I love Mantis and Drax. Like
great duo.
I don't know if they're doing a love angle with them. Like it's kind of there.
He's like, no, you are hideous.
He goes, "You are hideous," and she's like, he's like, I was trying to let you down by telling you that you were hideous, and I like a woman with meat on her bones." And she's like, "Drax, what are you doing?" Like, like they were so good together. I don't know if they were like at the end of 3 when they wave goodbye. It totally feels like there's something there between the two. And I haven't seen the Christmas special all the way through, which, from what I understand, it's mostly them. Like trying to steal Kevin Bacon, apparently.
Trying to take Kevin Bacon. It's such a weird thing. We're going to go kidnap. And then Kevin Bacon just goes along with it. He's just like, wait, you guys would take me to a planet? And then he makes them take him back. But then they're like doing this speech about how, Quill always wanted to meet Kevin Bacon. He's like, you know what? Okay, it's Christmas. We're going to sing the song. It's so over the top. But I thought it was fun. I love those two together, and like it started here, but it's really delivered in the third movie, which like I've like them together was like one of my favorite things in the third movie. Just like this great chemistry is these like Dumb and Dumber type of relationship, but they're both just so fucking funny and charming and likable. They work great as a duo. It's so weird because it's like Mantis and Drax. It works. Their comedy works, and I think it's nailed every time.
I think that's what they gave Drax to do in this movie was the relationship with Mantis. Like, even though it may not be romantic, I might be thinking into it more than it is. Like, I think it could be, but they don't go there, and I think that was smart because they are trying to still go there in this movie with Gamora and Star-Lord. Even though they don't kiss in any of the fucking movies of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's wild. They don't kiss in any of the trilogy. They do kiss in Infinity War, but they never tie the knot in any of these movies, which I thought was very. I was like, God damn! Like, I thought they kissed in this movie, but I rewatched. I was like, no, they don't fucking kiss. Like, weird.
They almost do, I think.
Yeah, they almost do twice once in the first movie and once in this, and then obviously the third one it's a different Gamora. But I don't know. I really like this movie overall as well. To me, a really fun sequel. Again, amazing soundtrack with the opening with the ELO. Mr. Blue Sky, lead the way. Hey, I really, really like this movie. It's a great energy. But let's check out the comments. We have a bunch now.
Okay.
I think we were here. The last Marvel film I saw was Black Widow. Okay.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I feel so bad.
I can see why that was the last you saw.
Yeah.
Maybe Groot is garbage marketing ploy to sell car ornaments. I'm going to die on this hill. All right, Mark. Fair enough.
Wow.
Glad to have you in the graveyard. The Mary Poppins reference cracked me up. Oh, that's right. The fucking.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Mary Poppins reference cracked me up all the time. Same with the huge Pac-Man. And I'm a huge Pac-Man guy, so I marked out for that. And it's stupid, but it worked. It was just like, yeah, of course he turned himself into a big Pac-Man. He even mentions that he's going to do it. He's like, I would make myself into a big Pac-Man. If you look at the background of the scene where Ego is making out with all the different aliens, one of them is Mantis' species, so it's sort of kind of implied. Okay, that I actually didn't even notice that. So
yeah, me either.
ATG Nap Podcast is here. Welcome. Happy Friday, my friend. 20 years ago, Kevin's been doing Howard the Duck. Would have been awesome. Today, not so much. I agree.
Kevin Smith? He would have made it crazy.
Yeah, it would have been just as good as this He-Man. Yeah, Howard the Duck would be fucking like, would you like the Bazooka? Kurt was amazing in Volume 2. Completely agree. Is the StreamYard Duck related to Howard the Duck? No.
It's a sponsor.
That's my watermark right here because that's free StreamYard, baby. I'm fine with the duck. He lets me stream and do my show for free. Nate, what are those pictures in the background? Do you want to show us some of your...
Well, that is Sesame Street up here, and I got to repaint that.
Days.
Hey, but you know what? Sesame Street is awesome. I got Babylon right there, The Crow right there. I got some Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead. I think I got a Friday the 13th poster behind that. Sonic up here.
Are you channeling Hans right now?
Oh, no. Hans no hero now.
I didn't understand that whole thing for a long time.
I know. I was like, he's probably so lost because that's like a backroom thing. Like I'm always doing it. People are like, what the hell is Hans? I'm like, it's just a thing. It's a character.
You got Hans over though, so that'd be nobody is related to the Affleck duck. Okay, Affleck. The group button scenes. And the duct tape scene are gags that ruin the movie for me. It's funny the first time, but then it keeps going on way too long. Like, I get it, move on. Okay, yeah. Here's my thing, and we could touch on this. I feel like all of these movies after Guardians of the Galaxy have the same humor. Like,
Yeah, and
I
it gets
don't.
annoying.
It's to the point now where I know Thor 4, like that movie, like everybody pretty much unanimously really shit, and mainly because like I'm like, to hate that movie because of the comedy doesn't make sense to me. They all have the comedy like that. Like, I don't see why that movie in particular was the one that bought. Like, other things in it, sure, the horrible CGI thing that fucking Christian Bale kills in the beginning, that was horrible. But there were things in that movie I didn't really mind. But man, like, to bash it for the humor alone, that doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like all of these movies have that humor.
I'm usually not a guy to hate a movie for effects. I don't care. I'm over here watching all kinds of movies. I love Godzilla, and that doesn't have the best effects. But I think that it does. I think for the time, Godzilla has amazing effects.
I would agree. Yes.
A lot of people are like, well, it's not as realistic as the new stuff. But I think that in Thor: Love and Thunder, when the frame rate dropped and the lightning is literally a moment, and we were watching it in IMAX, and I'm seeing the sparks, the frame rate drop. I'm like, I've never seen that in my entire life. I've never seen a movie in my entire. I've seen Asylum, and their CG runs at a consistent frame rate, and that was like, look at it real close, you can see the frame rate got. I'm just like, I have never seen that. These effects are not done, and they weren't done. And like, I don't know about Thor, but I know in No Way Home, I noticed it too. I was like, it's a great movie, but even when I was watching it and I was in the high of seeing the nostalgia, I was like, yeah, this is fantastic. Why does the CG look like this?
Yeah, bizarre. Yeah, like the CGI in that movie, like the thing that Christian Bale kills the. Oh, I was like, this looks like some fucking like Dreamcast CGI. It looks like fucking Hagrid from fucking the Harry Potter game on the PS1 or something. It just looked awful, man. Just awful. Looks more like a duck from Nintendo Duck Hunt. Okay, good call, Mateo. Only one woman for Drax, and Thanos killed her. Okay, fair enough. The Pac-Man thing was great. It was a reference that I got, and everyone clapped. Absolutely. Best soundtrack of the three movies? Hard question. I might go 2 for The Chain, Ooh. Father and Son, Mr. Blue Sky. I would go with the first movie for me.
First movie. I love all of them, but yeah, the first one, it's the perfect fit. But I do think the second and third one also have really solid soundtracks.
Yes. I would go in order with the soundtrack. I think 1, 2, 3 for the soundtracks. Like,
it's just every time I think about Guardians of the Galaxy, I think about that song, Come and Get Your Love. I think of that. That to me is the theme song for Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, you know.
Yeah, no. And like all these movies have great fucking music in them, so don't get me wrong. But even like when they're in Infinity War, they're playing the Rubber Band Man. Like, I'm like, yo, that's fucking perfect for Guardians. Like, just whatever song has great energy to it, that it just fits in this universe. And James Gunn knew how to, like, insert that. Guardians 2, I love it. I would give it another like 9.
My favorite.
Probably a 9 out of 10 for me.
If I were to give a rating, I don't know. Did I give a rating to the first one?
I did. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I don't know if you gave a rating.
I give it like a solid 7.5, and then this one I'd give like a 9 out of 10.
Ooh, all right, so, we're going.
That's a bit of a bump up. I know some people are probably like, "What? 7.5?" I'm like, hey, it's still good though. It's not like I'm over here. I wouldn't give it a 3.
No, it's better. It's better than Morbius. That's all that matters.
Oh, good Lord, yes, it's better than Morbius.
Now I know. Like I said, the trilogy, but we could briefly discuss the Guardians of the Galaxy's appearances in the Infinity War and the Endgame movie. Granted, they're barely in Endgame. They're more so in Infinity War. Would you want to get into that?
Yeah, sure. It actually surprised me how much they were in Infinity War. Like, a big part of that movie is the Guardians. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was astonished because I was like, with all of these other heroes, they're going to be barely like, and I felt like they were going to be treated as sidekicks, which really turned me. I was like, but off the high of Guardians 2, I was very excited. I remember if I remember correctly, the trailer shows Thor. It's like a teaser trailer where Thor gets up and he turns and he goes, who the hell are you guys? And it's them. And I was like, no fucking way. Like, that sold me. I was like, I've got to see this. Like, I want to see them interact with fucking Thor. I just thought it would be funny. Because I do like Hemsworth a lot. I think Hemsworth is really good actor. Like, I like Thor. Like, I've never been big Captain America or Iron Man, or I just don't, like, I don't know, them. Just never did it, but I do like Hemsworth as Thor. I think he's very fun as the character. And to see them interact here was interesting. I can't believe how integral they basically are. The biggest part of fucking Infinity War when you think about it.
Yeah,
because Thanos wins based on the whole love angle between he and Gamora. And now, like, just to fill people in, obviously, I'm sure people have fucking seen Infinity War by now. If they've not, you know,
it's $1 billion movie.
Living under a rock somewhere. Of course, you know, Infinity War tells the story of Thanos. He's trying to get all the fucking Infinity Stones, and Gamora is his daughter that he pretty much stole from her home planet as he wiped out half their population. He stole her, raised her as this fierce being and stuff. And at one point, he shows up, and Gamora asks Quill, "Hey, will you kill me? Do you love me enough to kill me if I tell you to?" And he says, "I'll do it. I'll do it." And there's a point where he has the gun at Gamora. He's like, "Do it, kill her." And he's crying. I really like the conflict within the Peter Quill character. He shoots and bubbles come out because he's playing with the realities, the red reality stone. And then, of course, Thanos kills Gamora. He pushes her off the cliff to get the Soul Stone because you have to kill something that you love in order to get it. And he did love Gamora. Thanos. That was the one thing he loved. He kills her, gets that stone, and then probably the most important scene of the movie. You have like Spider-Man, Iron Man, Mantis, Drax, and Nebula, and Star-Lord fighting Thanos, trying to get the glove off him. And Doctor Strange is there too. Iron Man's there. Mantis is putting him to sleep, and they're trying to get the glove off him. Spider-Man and Tony Stark, they're trying to pull it, and Star-Lord starts talking shit, just like Star-Lord would, you know, that's Star-Lord. And he basically is like, "I killed Gamora." And you just see this look on his face of, "Oh my God, no, you didn't." And he's like, "What?" And they all get like very like, "Quill, chill out." You even hear Drax like, "Quill, take it easy." And he loses his temper and just goes at it, tries to punch him. And thus Mantis breaks her sleeping hold. They almost have the glove off Thanos. He gets it back and ultimately wins the Infinity War himself. I know a lot of MCU fans hated that. I know a lot of people really were, Star-Lord's such a fucking idiot. I think that's great character story.
It's an arc, and it shows that, because it is a great thing, because it shows like that was the one thing that, you know, ended it all. And it shows that he's a flawed character, but it adds to the drama. It adds to the moment. I think it's a good moment. I've always liked that moment. I've never hated it.
So have I. I thought, okay, here is why I like the Guardians more too, is that they're imperfect. He's just a normal guy. Yeah. He like in that moment, if I was him, I might have done the same thing. Like, I remember we left the theater and a bunch of my friends, they were like, "What the fuck, Star-Lord?" I was like, "Why?" And they were like, "You punched Thanos in the face? You were about to," I was like, "Dude, he loved Gamora though." Like that, like that's the whole point. Like, yeah, it was a stupid decision, but he's only human. And his love for her in that moment made him lose his temper and thus cost them the entire war. It's wild how integral the Guardians become to that whole story, and half the population being wiped out with the snap. I thought that was really, really good character storytelling, man. And I thought that Chris Pratt, maybe my favorite performance from him as the Star-Lord character is in Infinity War, where he does that. And man, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." Like at the end, "I'm so sorry." And then Drax and all of them kind of just fade away. It's like, oh my God.
Dude, like, that moment, seeing that in the theater, it's chilling. Because at that moment, it's dead silent. And you're just dust. And you're just like, no, really? Is this how they're going to end this? And it was emotional because the good guys win in the MCU. That time they didn't. And I know a lot of people were like, "Well, we already knew that we were going to make it Endgame." I didn't know that. I was like thinking like, oh, they're dead. I'm like, that's it. They're dust.
Part
I
of
was
me,
like, how are
man,
they gonna do this?
and the MCU loves to do this alternate multiverse, all this stuff. In an alternate universe, I would love for this to have just been it. Like, not doing an end game. Just, they lost. You lost. He beat you. It was your own imperfections and your own inability to get along as Avengers, as a team, that ultimately cost you the war. That's why I really like Infinity War much more than the end game, because the end game, it's like, oh, we'll go back in time to beat him. It felt like so cheap. It was like, yeah, we'll just go back in time and beat him like that. And I'm just like,
It was that
what?
one trump card they could use where it's like, well, time travel, everyone. It's like, you pulled the time travel card. Come on.
That's never a good fucking card to pull, especially
That's
for a
cheap.
billion-dollar movie like that. I thought was weak. And I remember we went out after Infinity War to get Ralph's Ices. It was right around the corner from the movie theater, and they were all time travel. They're all going to be fine. I was like, that's horseshit. I was like, that to me ruins the whole Thanos character of what will you do when it's all over? I think it's Gamora that, I forget who the fuck asks him, but somebody asked him, what will you do when it's all over? And he says, I'm just going to watch the sunrise and rest. And that's the last shot of the movie. And I was like, wow. Like, I was like, that's great. Like, and then the Mr. Stark, fucking Tom Holland, Mr.
Dude,
Stark.
that was emotional. I almost cried during that moment because it was, I won't lie. I mean, it was emotional because the way that Tom Holland portrayed that character in that moment, he's just scared. He's a kid. He's like, I don't want to die. You know,
I'm just a kid and life is a nightmare.
That would have been hilarious. Started singing that while he's like, Tony, Mr. Stark, I'm just
nobody cares because I'm alone.
Star-Lord's like,
the world. I mean, it's hysterical. Like, I don't know. I really liked the Infinity War for the most part, and I love
Infinity War.
I was astonished how much the Guardians were in. I was like, they're gonna be so throwaway. But like, Star-Lord kicked Spider-Man's ass in the movie, where I was like, yo, what? Like, granted, they don't. Zoe Saldana is pretty much just there to die. Like, she doesn't really have much to do. But I don't know. I also, like, at the same time, I don't know if that was the right thing to do there with her character, because then in Guardians 3, she's like a completely different Gamora, where I was like, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess we can get into that now, but we do have one more comment. Brian is here, Kubrick lover. Hey, Grande and Nate, just stopping by to say hi.
What's up, man?
Dude, good to see you as always. We'll be on other streams, so I can't stay, but hope both of you are doing well. Always doing well, Brian. Thank you for checking in to the show tonight. I guess that brings us to Guardians 3, man. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I saw this past Tuesday night, and man, I've got to say, of the three, it's my favorite. I fucking couldn't believe how much I loved this movie. Brief plot synopsis. Still reeling from the loss of Gamora, Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own, a mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful. Yes, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, this was a long time coming. 6-year in between the second film and this film. Of course, we had the Infinity War and the Endgame, which I don't think either one of those movies are as good as any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And you also had the whole thing with James Gunn. He was fired.
He got canceled.
He got almost canceled, right, for a tweet he made in like 2010.
Yeah, people went back and found a tweet very controversial. It was weird. I won't lie. When the tweets got released, and even he was like, "Well, it's for comedy." I was like, "That's a fucking weird tweet for comedy," but all right, whatever, you know. Yeah, he got into some controversy.
Yeah, I felt that way too, but like I didn't feel like he should lose his job over that. Like I was like, really? And then I know Batista said he wouldn't do the movie without James Gunn, which is so true because it's his baby. Like, you can't fucking do this movie without him. Like, they wanted to have what's his damn name? Taki, the guy who did the last two Thor movies. What the fuck is his name?
Oh my god. Yeah.
I can't think of his fucking name. I know he's married to Tessa Thompson.
They would get him because his style was probably the closest to James Gunn as far as...
Yeah, because he basically ripped off James Gunn.
Yeah, he took it and applied it to Thor.
Yeah, I don't like... again, no disrespect to him, even though I don't think he's half as good as James Gunn. James Gunn had to do this trilogy. And I know he had the script done for years. His idea was, the first movie, it's all of them. The second movie, it's Star-Lord. This movie he wanted to revolve mainly around Rocket and his backstory. But meanwhile, all the characters do have a nice arc in this film. I was blown away by this. I don't know. I know you said you liked it. You didn't go in too in depth in your stream, so I'm super excited to hear your thoughts. What was your theater experience like seeing this?
Oh, movie? It was great. Me and my brother went and seen it 3D IMAX. It was cool. I haven't seen a 3D movie in forever. I think the last 3D movie I seen was Jurassic World. So it was cool. Finally seeing another 3D movie, and it looks pretty good in 3D. See, longer movies in 3D, I don't know if they work very well because it gets tiring. Your eyes, you're just like, man, you gotta take the glasses off occasionally. Like, wow, man, this is intense. But yeah, man, it was a great experience. The theater once again, never been let down by a Guardians theater experience. Everybody was laughing, having a fun time. Just a good crowd pleasing movie. And it was a movie that I was a bit hesitant because I did want to go see it. I was excited for it. The trailers looked good to me. I didn't really see any bad signs other than the fact that the MCU had been lacking lately. I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp bombed. It kind of got forgotten. It was kind of a fart in the wind, which is kind of crazy because both sequels are kind of farts in the wind. Nobody really talked about them. I went and seen Thor: Love and Thunder, and I wasn't really that impressed. Multiverse of Madness, okay, I wasn't really blown away by it. So going into this, I was real this gotta be good because if they drop the ball with Guardians of the Galaxy, we're in real trouble here, folks. And was just surprised, blown away. It brings back things from the previous movies that you love while also adding new things. It was about as emotional as part 2. And I feel like that's why I like the sequels more than the first one. The first one to me, it's fun, it's good. Doesn't really have that emotional part to it. Besides the opening where it's like Peter's mom dying. That was real sad. And, I think there's a couple moments here and there where it could be maybe a little bit emotional, but the sequels really get deep into the characters. And this one, I loved. My favorite parts were the Rocket scenes. Everything with Rocket, the flashbacks. I bought the friendship between him and I think it's the otter, right?
Lila, the handless otter.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Linda Cardellini, who was Velma in the Scooby-Doo movies, crazy enough.
Really? That's her?
That's Velma.
Oh my God. Wow.
Nuts.
That's awesome. Hey, James Gunn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bought that. It was so good, emotional. And it just was heartwarming. And then when that moment happens, which, spoiler alert, I think we've already said that, but when the characters die, it's heartbreaking. And I almost cried. And I know I've been saying that a lot, but it was heartbreaking. It was gut-wrenching. It was emotional. And it was one of the saddest moments. Even though I could probably say I'd seen it coming. I was like, they're going to die. But, when it happened, it still hit hard. I knew they were going to die. But, it's the way they were doing it. I'm like, oh, it's so happy. I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to last. We already know this. But it still was really emotional. And yeah, I think when I got out of this movie, I was like, well, Peter Quill should have done more. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, he had part 2. This is a movie where it's more about Drax, more about Nebula, more about Mantis, more about Rocket, obviously. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I'm cool with that because it was cool seeing them get their moments and finally they were given their own stuff. It was like we're finally giving Drax working with Mantis as a team, doing their own thing. Quill is still there, but I felt like Quill was definitely a little bit more in the background for me. But at the same time, part 2 did a great job exploring his character. So this does a great job. And at first I was like, oh, great. A storyline where, one of the team members is on their deathbed. I'm like, I've seen this before. But it was handled very, very well. And while it on paper could have seemed generic, because I'm like, well, that's plenty of movies where, oh, there's this one person on the deathbed and we got to go do all this stuff to save them. But what made it different was, while that's happening, you're seeing the backstory. And I think that really ties the whole thing together. I enjoyed the main villain. I didn't hate him as much as other people. I don't think he's a great villain, but I think he's passable at least. He's definitely got the heat when he kills the characters. You know, you just like, man. And I was surprised that when the face reveal happens. I was surprised. I was like, man, that's gory. That's graphic.
Practicality. Look at all the practical effects in this movie.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Good set design. I think that one place, that looked like it was a practical set. I'm like, oh my God, I'm seeing a practical set in an MCU movie, because I love that. I love set design. I love practical sets. I'm a big fan of it. Big mark for that.
Me too.
It was cool seeing that. And costume design, James Gunn adds that real stuff in there. Doctor Strange, I feel like the thing with that movie, the second one at least, was nothing felt real about it. It felt like it was all on a green screen, blue screen.
Because it was.
CG everywhere. But here, the costumes and just the look of everything. I love the inside of that area with the weird armor costumes and bright, you know, again, I love the environments, and it's a pretty cool idea of having this planet of all these creatures this guy's worked on, making the perfect world. And it's all practical. I mean, there's CG, but there's a lot of practical suits.
I couldn't believe how practical.
Yeah, it was really shocking. The environment, even the neighborhood looked real. And I was like, yes. Cool. We need that more, because it looks better. It looks, I don't know, when you CGI everything, it has a glare to it. Doesn't look real to me. Like, just a glare. It's something about it. It doesn't suck me in all the way. But when you do something practically with the CG, that's where filmmakers get it right, is when you combine both. That's some of the best movies, when you combine both. But when you rely too much on the CG, it begins to affect the movie, and to where you don't buy certain things. Or like, this doesn't look real. I'm not invested. But yeah, I thought James Gunn back in the director chair again, just everybody showing that they still got it. And I was worried about that. I was like, man, it's been a minute. Batista, rumors were saying that he didn't want to play Drax anymore. Rumors were saying that he was upset with playing Drax. Rumors were saying that James Gunn was, you know, going through things with the making of the movie. And I was just like, I hope
he jumped ship. He's in DC. Yeah. He's the DC, like, co-executive, whatever now. And so this is going to definitely be his last Marvel anything. So it's really a swan song. And man, like, I agree. Absolutely. I was nervous about the Rust too. I was like, man, this has been 6 years. He was fired from this. This script's been done forever. This is coming out at a time where a lot of these sequels, like the Ant-Man, Quantum Mania, where I still don't understand how Ant-Man was fighting. I was like, what? Kang and Ant-Man? That doesn't go. Like, Kang was a Fantastic Four villain. Like, the people not, I don't, like, I'm a nerd for this shit. And I'm like, Ant-Man? Like, what? Like, I just thought that was an odd idea. I didn't see the film, but from what I heard, it was not very good.
No, it's gotten all bad reviews. So some people are saying it's worse than the second one, which I'm like, man, if it's worse than that second one, I want to see it. But I don't think it was in theaters for very long, because I went and checked, and it's not in theaters anymore. And MCU stays in theaters for a while.
It dropped like 40% in its second weekend. That's fucking unheard of.
I think it's just people beginning to realize that these movies, some of them are special, like Guardians 3, but most of them are these churned out, just paint by numbers, generic MCU stuff happening. And I think that you can see that with, you know, Doctor Strange and, you know, Thor and just other MCU things, even dating back to like Black Widow. And the thing is, it's funny, we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. It's funny because they did the same thing with the Eternals. They took an idea that nobody knew about. Nobody was really familiar with the Eternals. And that was the one that I was like, bro, Eternals, all right, I'll check that out. I don't know anything about it. The trailer comes out, I'm like, great looking visuals. Okay. Ends up being like my least favorite MCU movie. I'm just like, God damn it, man. And they tried to push it, but here's the thing: that movie is a bomb. It cost them like $500 million to make that movie, I think, and it made under that. So I was like surprised that nobody was like, "Oh, Eternals bomb," because they do it for every other movie, but MCU hides that. I don't know how they do it, but they hide their bombs. You know,
they can hide their
somehow.
bombs because they've made so many fucking hits. That's why you can hide your bombs. You have like the billions and billions and billions they've made. Yeah, they can afford to lose $500 million. It's just that's how sick it is. But no, you're right. Like that, Eternals was the bomb I thought Guardians was going to be. Like when that came out,
the example
everybody
right there.
It. I was like, there it is. Okay, it was like 8 years delayed, but here's the fucking bomb that ended up like because that man doesn't necessarily work. It's like if you pick something that people don't know, odds are people aren't going to fucking go see it unless it's really fucking good. And that's Guardians of the Galaxy was that case. But man, the arcs of everyone, I think that's why I like this film the best of the three, is because I felt everyone had something to do here. I know you were saying Star-Lord felt in the background. I actually thought his arc in this was fucking great, where of course he's reeling over the loss of Gamora. He's kind of dipped into alcoholism. She does return. She's with Sly Stallone, so shout out to Stallone. Who's randomly in these movies is like a nothing part, but he's hey yo, I'm here with Gamora. You know what I mean? She's gonna come over onto your ship now. He fucking shows up randomly in this, and she's with him. And she rejoins them, and he's like trying to win her over. And, you know, I loved you and you completed me. And there's a really intense scene where she goes, what are you scared of inside yourself that you feel that you need me?
Great moment.
And, he waters moment. Up, and it's great. And like, I think his whole character arc of, you know, Manta saying, hey, you still have family back on Earth. You've been running your whole life. Like, what are you running from, Peter? Go back. You have family that may be loving you back on Earth that you just ran away from, becoming this scoundrel your whole life. Like, why are you running away from your problems? And of course, he's running away from his problems. He's chasing his girl. He's just all running in all sorts of directions in this movie. And I really like the whole way they wrapped up he and Gamora, because I was invested in that love story. I loved the two, Zoe Saldana and Chris Pratt. They had wonderful chemistry with one another, and I really was rooting for them to get back together. And when I first saw the movie, again, spoiler alert, they don't get back together at the end of this movie. There's a very sad scene where she walks past them. They're back to back, and she looks and she goes, I bet we were fun. And he starts breaking down. He goes, you have absolutely no idea. And she kind of,
it's such a sad scene, right?
I
feel so bad for him.
I was like, fuck. Like, and you know, this is another per example of why these are the Teen Titans movies I'll never get. I don't know how familiar you are with Teen Titans. I know Trenchy is. Trenchy will know what I'm talking about.
I love Teen Titans.
Okay. Do you remember the fucking series finale of Teen Titans with Terra and Beast Boy? Things Change?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Really
that emotional. Is basically what they did here, even to the point where one of them's white and one of them's green.
Yeah.
That's what they did here, where they are back to back, and she says in the episode, Tara says to Beast Boy, face it, Beast Boy, the girl you want me to be is just a memory. That's exactly what they do here. Face it, Star-Lord. Gamora, the Gamora you loved is just a memory.
But John, they do have on HBO the Titans show.
Yeah, with bad cosplay dressed Titans. And they also have Teen Titans Go, where the Teen Titans don't fight crime anymore. They do laundry and sing fucking karaoke. And for some reason, it's become this phenomenon amongst children all over the world. I know Mateo says his kids love it. So I was astounded.
Dude.
Goddamn. But that's why I was like, yo, here is the Terra Beast Boy arc in front of my eyes in a 2023 movie. I got so emotional. I was like, that's the same thing. It's literally, you have to let go of what you love because it's not the same anymore. It may look the same, may feel the same, may everything the same, but it isn't. And he has to learn to swallow that bitter pill. I loved how he goes home at the end. I thought that was brilliant. And also teasing his death, where I was like, holy shit, when his face started to blow up in the...
That was shocking. And it was a sad... I thought they were going to go through with it. I
Me
thought
too.
it was happening. I was like, oh, what?
Me too. because of the
surprised they didn't.
circumstances of this film being the last one, being James Gunn is jumping ship from Marvel to DC, I was like, that's crazy that he literally lived and died by that fucking tape recorder. Like that, like what a moment. And then of course Adam Warlock does save him, which I actually am happy now because I liked the whole ending where I have to let go. I have to learn from that. And I'm not running anymore. I'm going to walk back home. And it's literally, it's also like the Rambo arc. It's I'm just trying to go home. Like, that's what he's trying to do. I actually loved Star-Lord in this when I was like, man, but you're right. The stuff with Rocket is so heart-wrenching, and the way they introduce all those characters like Lila and Teefs and Floor, and they're all fucking mangled. Like you have this walrus in a wheelchair, which he had my heart. I felt bad. He was like, I want to be called Teefs because my Teefs are. I was like, this motherfucker. I never thought I'd feel bad for a CGI walrus in a wheelchair, but this movie had me fucking cry over one. I was sitting here on a Tuesday night crying. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? But and Floor, which is this fucking mangled. I should fucking laugh. Was this fucking mangled bunny? I was like, this poor fucking bunny, dog. What the fuck? I'm a horrible human being. I'm going to hell.
Oh man, I got a spot
again. The whole like idea of he's trying to make these animals bigger, but they're getting aggressive, and Rocket fixes the problem in a second. And you fix the problem. Why are you smarter than me? And all that. The villain was iffy. I definitely think the villain's the only iffy part of this movie. Like he's shouting a lot of his lines. Like a lot of it's like him just yelling at motherfuckers. But again, he did work okay. Like I don't think he was bad. He was definitely better than the fucking villain in the first movie. Like easily better than that. So, but again, no Kurt Russell. So I mean, it is what it is. But again, even Drax. I love Drax and Mantis. They're very fun in this movie. But there's a scene where Nebula just goes off on Drax. She's like, "You're fucking idiot."
Yeah.
All this, and Mantis steps right in front of her and goes, "He loves us and makes us laugh. That's his significance." And like in that 2 sentences, exactly why we love Drax. Yeah, he is funny. He does make us laugh. He does love us, and that's why we love Drax back. You know, yeah, he isn't the smartest fucking person or the brightest bulb in the box, sharpest tool in the shed.
It's the same reason why you love Rocky. Rocky may not be the smartest guy in the room, but he's got a heart of gold, you know.
Yeah, the heart of gold and the great left hand, man. That's why that character. I love how he wins over the kids. And my daughter used to love me when I pretended to be a monkey, and then he acts to be a robot. Like only Drax would do that, and all the kids start laughing, and even Nebula smiles. She's like, you know what? I figured out what your purpose is. You're just a dad. Like that's what you are. I loved that moment for Drax. I was like, how cool is that for Drax? And Mantis too at the end. I've been working for other people and doing what I've been told my whole life. I want to find out what I want. And she kind of goes off on her own. I was like, wow, that was really nice. Adam Warlock, who starts off as a villain in this movie, he even has a fucking arc.
Loved his arc. At first, I was like, oh, because I'm familiar with the game. So I was like, this is a different Adam Warlock. And so when it got to that moment, when it got to the ending, I was like, it won me over. As at first, I was like, what's this? He's a whiny, complaining dude. Reminds me of Prince Charming from Shrek 2.
Oh my God, yes. With the mother. That's crazy fucking compare. It's so true.
Mother. Why does she
mother,
like me,
he loves the ogre.
Yeah, I was like, what'd they turn my boy Adam Warlock into? But by the end, he became a likable character.
You like Will Poulter?
I think he's a good actor. It's kind of weird. I can't take him seriously. I just can't. I know some people. It has that. I can't take him seriously. But you know, it's like Danny DeVito. I don't think I could take him seriously. He's just a funny dude. You know,
Danny DeVito is Adam Warlock.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm here to save you. No, I don't know. Like I liked his whole thing where he starts off evil and then at the end ends up saving Star-Lord, and then like everyone's hugging and embracing. He's like, I want in, and he hugs and like slowly gets into the hug.
this is a cool family. I want to be a part of this. This is cool. Like kind of
Which
that
I
vibe.
understand he's going to be when they do this Kang movie down the road. He'll be one of the Guardians, apparently.
Yeah, which I dug the whole idea of them like, let's end this. Like we all need time apart, and Rocket's like, but this can't end. This is what we're here for. We're the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy, and I like how he goes and forms the new Guardian to the Galaxy, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's now crowned the leader because we've seen his whole story, his tragic backstory, his triumphant moment when he defeats the villain and shoot. I mean, I thought that was a wonderful scene where he does defeat the villain. I'm Rocket. I mean, just awesome stuff. I really liked
badass
that moment for him. I love Groot in this as well, where you know. He's slowly but surely, he's like the teenage Groot, but he's still kicking ass and shooting.
Did you see that Thing reference?
What's that?
The Thing reference? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Where he's got the like, where it's just the head of Groot crawling around like a spider. There's a part where that's right. A Thing reference.
I didn't fucking pick up. I really didn't pick up on that, man. That's wow. That's awesome. Like, yeah, I like him. I thought the humor in this movie was good, but I thought of the three, this was easily the most dramatic. Like, you do have a whole fucking planet that gets blown up in this film. You have scenes where like they're all really upset about Rocket almost dying and they're like crying. Like even Nebula breaks down. We do have Mateo asking us this question. We do have this comment from Slasher Fred. I've noticed how the movie kind of mixes between Star Wars and Star Trek. Definitely could see that. Definitely lean more to Star Wars. Trenchy's in the house, by the way. Trenchy, welcome,
what's up, man?
Mateo says, your thoughts on the Nebula character through the movies? I really like it. I do too. What do you think of
I told my brother after we watched this, I was like, she stole the show. That was my favorite character from the movie.
Dude, gosh.
Yeah, please. I thought it was great. I thought it was cool that we're seeing her being involved in the Guardians, getting a big role in this movie. And the actress did great. And yeah, I thought she just stole the show. I loved how they focused more on her character. And it feels like since Endgame, she has finally been a part of this, family. And even though there are moments where, yeah, she argues with Drax and everything, I think she has a very important role in the film. So, yeah, I thought she was a show stealer. My favorite performance in the movie was Nebula, which is shocking. Yeah. People are like, what? Yeah, my favorite.
I won't lie, I'm shocked, but I'm so stoked that was your like. I do think she was great too. Like I like her in all these movies. Like even if her performance is so like the way she walks is the same in every movie too. Like she has a specific way she walks, and she's like just this mean, just so mean. And even Mantis is like, you're so fucking mean. Like what?
I didn't like how they treated her in Endgame. I thought in Endgame, all they did was like, there's a part where he tortures a Nebula, and
that's Infinity War, yeah,
Infinity. I don't know. I just feel like they didn't really treat her very well in those movies, but it was cool in this movie. She has all the upgrades and she's got all the weapons and stuff. The hallway scene, by the way, one of my favorite scenes from the MCU. Like
the
just
best
the
action scene of the trilogy.
Boom, 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 everybody getting a badass moment.
And it looks like it was like in one take. Like
one shot.
They ever cut and no sleep till Brooklyn.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes from the MCU, without a doubt.
Yeah, I liked how they were all like, we could just get out of here, and then it's like, no fucking way. And like
I love the slow-mo walk. You gotta love the slow-mo walk where they're walking Guardians of the Galaxy's back. I love it.
Yeah, it's just a nice, like, final, like, let's just, we could go, but let's just fucking do this. And they all, like, kind of, like, begrudgingly make their badass walk and, no, sleep till Brooklyn. They all get their badass moments and time to shine. And then they save all the children, but not just them. They do save all the animals, which is basically the arc that, Rocket he couldn't get his friends out all these years ago. Now he does save all these animals and like literally all these animals come over to the ship with Sean Gunn. And I thought that was really nice, man. I just thought it had a nice heart to it. And then to the finale where, like you said, a lot of them leave. Mantis goes her way. Star-Lord goes his way. You add Adam Warlock to the mix and you make Rocket the leader. And we have this wonderful end of the trilogy where they all kind of just dance to the dog days are over. And I thought, like, what an amazing scene. Like, I got really emotional as they all started celebrating together. And even Batista's like, I don't want to dance. It's for idiots. And then he's throwing his arms up with all the kids. And Like I fucking got emotional. I was like, this was a journey that was almost 10 years in the making. And I know that whatever people will be into those Avengers movies and they're fine, but like I got way more emotional here than I did at Endgame or Infinity War. Like I was like, this is done right. Like this is such a good trilogy. Like this is how you end it. Like Return of the Jedi, where we won, we're celebrating. Some people may go their own different ways, but you know what? We had a very fun run while we were here. And I thought,
do you think they're done, or do you think they'll make a fourth one without James Gunn?
So James Gunn's gone. Zoe Saldana is definitely done, and so is Drax. And honestly, it would make no sense to bring Gamora back after the way they ended her, because I was like, she's totally. They kept teasing that they're going to get back together the whole movie. Like he saves her at a point. They lie on top of each other at one point. They're like giving the like, I'm fucking the shit out of each other. Like I'm like, okay, they're totally like this is gonna happen. And then they didn't do it. Like she had like the last person you see her with is Sly. She's like, hey Sly. I'm like, what the fuck?
Sly stole his
girl. Hey yo, Zoe.
Hey yo, she with
me Avatar now. 3.
Is she with me now?
Hey yo, what's gonna make $1 billion movie? You know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck? But
you ready for Rocky 7?
Rocky versus fucking Thanos. Let's do it, man. Hey yo, I will go to fucking nowhere to fight this guy. There's no oxygen in nowhere. There's no oxygen for him either. He doesn't have boxing gloves. He's got the infinity fucking glove. Hey yo, I got a kill left hook. It's gonna be a main event. That would be. You gotta do your Arnold. You gotta do your Arnold.
Come on, Sly, you could do it. Come on. He's like cheering him on. You got it. Come on. You have one more hit in you. One more hit.
Do it. Come on. No. So I know Batista doesn't want to play Drax, so you have two of the main people that are going to come back, and Drax is with them at the end of this. So I was like, that wouldn't work. I believe in the after credit scene, they say the legendary Star-Lord will return. So he's probably signed on to do more stuff. Their plan is right. It isn't the plan right now. Like, granted, you could totally teach me, educate me on this because I don't know. I thought the plan was to do like Kang. Like Kang was going to be the fucking big bad wolf of the Avengers movies. And they would do like Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, and then maybe the new Guardians. Like they're going to do a new, Avengers movie. Like that's what I thought the plan was.
I think that is the current plan, but the guy who played Kang, he's getting into a lot of legal trouble right now. So I don't know if they're gonna like recast him or if they're gonna throw another bad guy, which they could. They got like thousands they could choose from. Literally, that's why I'm like, you're making just one main villain. Like y'all got thousands of villains you could use, but hey, I mean, whatever keeps the money going, I guess, for them. They're like, hey, only one. But
well, if you think about it, the Kang movie didn't make money.
No, it really didn't. And the thing is, too, like MCU set this formula up, the multiverse. They could make money forever now because technically every Marvel movie is canon now. Every Marvel movie, even from the 80s to the 70s. Because in theory, you could say that's different multiverse. That's different universe. And so they made everything canon going forward too. So you could get a recasted Iron Man and it makes sense because, hey, this is in universe, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it works.
Yes.
So I think marketing wise, genius move because now they can recast whoever they want. If this guy doesn't want to play him anymore, I recast him. We'll bring in an alternate universe version, But I'm not a fan of that because I'm going to be like, well, now there's no drama. There's no like suspense or anything.
No stakes at all.
Yeah, because now if someone dies, you can just bring in a new version of them. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. We go back in time. We can pull the time card.
Guys, we'll go back and get him from the past.
We'll go back to the future. No, it's just late. Like, yeah, I agree. But that what I thought was the plan. So I'd assume that Rocket, Groot, Nebula, Adam Warlock, definitely, they'll be back. But you'll never see, I don't think you'll ever see Batista or Zoe Saldana again. You'll definitely see Star-Lord. My guess, you could fucking do a solo Star-Lord movie. I think he's so good in all those movies, and they already saying he's going to return, so he'll be there in some.
He might get a TV show, if anything. I could see him getting a show because Hawkeye got a show. So I could.
Mateo's saying spin-off Gamora, and I don't think you're ever going to see Gamora again. I think the whole point of this movie was no more Gamora.
Gamora is going to go a separate way, no longer a part of the Guardians. This was her swan song as the character. Like, she had that one last ride with the Guardians, and now it's time to go and do something else.
You know? I really, and like, you know, even like I was saying, it's a bitter pill for me being a fan of that. Like, I really like the character. I really like the actress. Like I say, I think she's a beautiful lady, even though she's like mid-40s. But like she said, I think in interviews that like all these movies are like doing her own stunts and shit. Like she said, her body literally can't do it anymore, so she can't. Like she's getting too old for this fucking thing, you know? Like it's crazy. She's like mid-40s. Batista's in his 50s.
I know, right? When I see that, I was like, Jesus.
Fucking, but blue. He's gonna be great.
He looks great though. He looks great for 50, man.
He does.
Like, bro, have you seen Sly? Bro, Stallone is like in amazing shape. He almost 80 years old with abs. I'm like, what the fuck?
Hey yo, you know what I mean? It's all about those yokes.
Stallone, good job on the protein.
Sly, we have to come
keep working out.
I would love to
drink
see
the milk.
them make a movie that's not a fucking prison escape movie. It would be funny if they did like a movie where
grumpy
like,
old men with Stallone and
oh my god,
and Arnold.
Hysterical.
Come on, pass me the fishing bait. Come on, you do it.
Imagine like them arguing over like milk. Like, hey, yo, why did you get the low fat chocolate milk? That's what I ordered. Come on, you want to come here? I have the Nesquik. I get it from the outside.
I get the milk. Come on. I make more hit movies than you.
You're like a vegetarian. You know, like, I would. I don't know. I definitely would love to see that. But Guardians 3. A 10 out of 10. I was blown away by it. I expected it to be the weakest of the three, and that a lot of people were saying that when I went in, and I was like, all right, I'm probably.
I was shocked by that. I thought it was the second. Part 2 is my favorite. Part 3 is right underneath that, and then part 1, I would put it as a third. But this one's not far. I'd say it's pretty much on the level of part 2. I just think part 2. I don't know. Maybe it's just certain things I prefer. I don't know. I would say that 3 and 2 are on the same level, though, where it's like fantastic job.
I think it's the rare trilogy where all 3 of them are on the same level.
Like, I could say that too, yeah, because I do also love the first one. I think they're all 3 unique films, different films, and they're all 3 on the same level of being like out of the MCU, just quality movies, and it's cool because it shows that it's cool to show that you can still do that. You know?
I agree. And I think James Gunn was the really biggest piece of that. And it'll be interesting to see what he goes on to do in the DCU.
I know a lot of people are hating that. They're hating the fact that he's doing the DCU. But I'm like, think about what he did for Suicide Squad. He took a universe that was real messy and made it fun and unpredictable and real close to the comics. Like,
I looked at that. It was like a remake. He literally took a bad movie in the first Suicide Squad and remade it and made it great.
Yeah. I think he's going to do amazing things with the DCU. And he's not all about just wiping everything. He's like, no, we're still going to have the Reeves verse. We're still going to have certain things going on. Titles coming out. Like, these movies are still happening, but they're also going to make they're going to refresh things, basically. And
the project isn't right now. He's going to do the next Superman movie. That's the plan.
Yeah.
See, like, I don't know if he says Superman. That's like one that I'm like,
Snyder, no.
This humor would never work in the Superman to me. I don't think
Snyder was a good pick either for Superman. I don't mind that. Yeah, I don't mind Man of Steel, but that whole vibe from bringing that vibe from Watchmen to Batman and Superman, I was like, what the hell? Superman's over here like, I don't care what happens to them. I only care about Lois. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. That I never cared for. Like, Watchmen, he did do a great job, and that's why they gave him the keys to that kingdom. And man, look at everything he made after that. I mean, Man of Steel, Justice League, it all fucking just Batman and Superman, like all of it bombed to the point where now it's like, you know, I really want to see the next Matt Reeves Batman movie. I really liked that movie. I thought it was awesome. I would really like to see him do one of two at least these two things. Now he's DCU. Teen Titans, #1, easily. You do this with with those characters, I think it'd be even better than Guardians of the Galaxy. And I would love to see Static Shock. I think Static Shock would be a
Absolutely.
really good one for him to do. But Superman, I guess that the studio's like, all right, we're gonna sign you on. We need somebody to do a Superman movie the right way. I think that's the point because obviously Superman Returns was a fucking bore. Man of Steel, nobody cares anymore.
Oh my god, I forgot about that movie, Brendan Routh.
Superman Returns is fucking horrible. Fucking, let's make Superman into a fucking 3-hour art film and just try so hard to be Richard Donner. Oh, I hate Superman Returns, where there's like no action scenes in a 3-hour movie. Oh,
yeah,
that's
man,
a piece of
I
shit.
forgot about that one.
Exactly, it's probably a good thing you forgot about it because it was so fucking boring.
I was like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, with Brendan Routh, right?
That's the #1 superhero movie that will put you to sleep. Like people say, "Oh, Batman and Robin's the worst action movie ever." No way. I watched that 10 times before I watched Superman Returns. Superman Returns is awful. So I think like they've had so many misses with Superman. Like literally haven't got a good Superman movie since Superman 2, which was in fucking 1980.
Have you ever seen 4?
The Quest for Peace? That's a piece of shit. Yeah, that's
my god, dude, that movie.
Superman 3. Superman 3 gets a lot of hate. I like aspects of it. Like I like the whole Clark Kent and what the fuck was her name? Annette O'Toole. I like that stuff and the evil Superman. I like some of it, but like the movie itself, it's kind of average. But man, they haven't made a great Superman movie since Superman 2. Like I think he can turn it around. I just don't know if he necessarily says Superman. Like I don't know.
Is he going to direct it and everything? Or
he already wrote the script.
Producing it? Oh,
he wrote the script, and if he's the fucking CEO of the company, I would think he's going to direct it. Like, why would you write it and then hand those keys to somebody else?
Right. Well, maybe I don't know. I was thinking like maybe what it is he's going to be more of the like head of creative, I guess you could say. Like, all right, I'll write the scripts, I'll pitch the ideas, I'll get some guys I know, but I could see him directing a lot of these movies. Teen Titans, that is interesting to me. That I would go see instantly. I'm like, dude, knowing his track record with Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad, knowing that, I will go see a Teen Titans movie by James Gunn.
I would be the first motherfucker in line. I have so much Teen Titans merch. If I was allowed to get a tattoo, I would get a tattoo of the Teen Titans. Like they are my favorite superheroes of all time. Mm-hmm. I did like 5 Granny's Graveyard episodes talking about every single episode of that show. So that would be the coolest thing ever for me if he did it. And it would be really nice to see him get like unknown people. Because you have to get teens. You'd have to get younger actors. So it's not like, oh, we'll get Chris Evans because everyone loves him. And Robert Downey Jr., you know, like you'd have to get
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, fucking
Bill Skarsgård as Beast Boy.
Oh my God. You know they'd have Jenna Ortega be Raven. That's that thing.
Tom Holland playing Robin.
Oh my fucking God. Don't Don't fucking do that to me.
You know you want to see that. Tom Holland.
Hey, Starfire. Zendaya is fucking Starfire.
Dude, oh God. That comedy, man. He'd be like, hey, I'm Robin. At least I think I am, right? Yeah, I'm Robin. It's like,
I got the R in my chest in this mask. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I
can't stand his humor in the Spider. I think it's cringe. Every time they do that joke where he's like, yeah, I'm just really awkward Spider-Man. Like, how you guys doing, Captain? How you doing? I'm just like,
hey,
what
sir,
the fuck is this, dude? This is cringe.
Spider Boy. I don't like Tom. I never fucking cared for Tom Holland, man. Maybe I'm. I don't know. Maybe I'm jaded. I have no idea. I just never cared for him. I just think he's
a lot of people are just like, the comedy's not well written. The character's not well written. Doesn't feel very close to Spider-Man. He's kind of Peter Parker in name only, and there's aspects of Peter Parker in there, but it's just like. That's not. I wouldn't. You know. I think Toby and Andrew did a way. Not.
Toby's the best Peter Parker. Like he's perfect as Peter Parker. And then Andrew, it's like as Spider-Man, the jokes worked. Like I liked his jokes probably the best. but the movies around him were really like let him down to me. Like I think Andrew Garfield behind a James Gunn or behind somebody that knew what the fuck they were doing creatively, I think he would have been great as Spider-Man too. That's why I'm like, but then Holland, I don't know. I just don't really, maybe it's the character. It's Spider-Boy. And you're right. It's like, he always needs a sidekick. It's like, oh, Iron Man's got to save my ass. Oh, I need Toby and Andrew to help me. Like, it never feels like he's really the reason why anything, like, I don't know.
He has to work with Mysterio and Far From Home. It's so bad that the villains are helping him out. They're like,
the villains are helping him defeat himself. Like, fucking lame. Superman Returns almost destroyed a franchise. Kevin Spacey as a supervillain was fitting. Sure, definitely. He was actually perfect as fucking Lex Luger. Lex Luthor. Not
the Lex Express.
Imagine fucking Kevin Spacey rolled up in the hero.
Yeah, oh my god, I would freaking mark out.
He's a hero.
I'd be like, what?
We're gonna have Yokozuna lose and be a count out and not have this motherfucker win the title.
If Lex Luger showed up, man, I would freaking freak out. Like, oh, Lex Luthor.
Lex Luger is Lex Luthor would be hysterical. That's probably, knowing how those creative guys work, that's totally how they came up with the name. They were like, we need a bad guy. We need a bad guy named Lex Luger. Boom. Like, it's fucking horrible. And he was a bad wrestler, but
and then we're gonna try and make him the next Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, right. Those boots didn't fucking fit. They were fit by the hitman Bret Hart, who's a way better fucking wrestler in all aspects. But dude, it was so much fun talking all things Guardians with you. Unless there's anything else you wanted to touch on in the stream, I had a wonderful time.
Oh, dude, it was a blast, man. Thanks for having me back on. It was fun. I love these movies. It was a lot of fun chatting it up with you, man. So thanks for having me back on.
1,000,001 good times with you on the show, and I appreciate your friendship. It was always good shooting the breeze with you, and this was a very fun time. Man, huge Guardians fan. I'm happy the third movie delivered, and I'm happy we could come on and do this on a Friday night. Like I was saying, I love doing impromptu things. Last week we did a Saturday show. And then we did the Friday night show. Well, let me ask before I let you go, are you having anything planned on your channel? Are you still planning on doing these Sunday night insomnia streams, which I can't stay up for because I do have work early on fucking Mondays?
I do want to make the Sunday night insomnia things, the streams more often. I want to make that like a series I do, where it's just late night shenanigans, man. We'll see what happens with that. But actually, it's kind of crazy because you tackled Amityville recently, which salute to you, man. And I've been tackling Children of the Corn. So that'll be my next one, is Children of the Corn retrospective, going from Children of the Corn 1 all the way to the new one, which I've watched all the way up till Genesis. And my God, I was watching Genesis and I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Dude, Children of the Corn 6 is one of the worst movies I have ever seen, dude. It's horrible.
Yes, that's the worst one. That's 666 Isaac's Return.
Oh,
that's a piece of shit. I've seen
Trenchy was like part 5's the worst. I'm like, no. Part 6, dude. Part 6
part
is
5 is Fields of Terror. Is that part 5?
Fields of fucking Terror.
There's the second one's The Gathering. The third one is
Urban Harvest.
Urban Harvest, that's right. Oh my God, dude, you're gonna need the I got through 9 Amityville movies, but man, Children of the Corn might just be even more torturous because I don't know.
It's been tough, man. It's been real tough. It's been taking.
So you're at Genesis. You're at Genesis right now.
I finished Genesis, so now I got to watch Children of the Corn Runaway, and then the Children of the Corn second remake. So, yeah, it's been a journey, man. 2 months. I started this journey. I think in a back room with Trenchy, John Steele. It was Trenchy, me, John Steele, and Brian. We all watched Children of the Corn 2 and had a blast. It was actually a lot of fun. That movie's outrageous, dude. Have you ever seen part 2? It's so out there. It's the troll.
It's bizarre. I have seen part 2.
It's fucking amazing. Have a corn stalk go through someone. I'm like, he just got impaled by a corn stalk.
That's so.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
The way you describe, you're like, bro, I saw that in the back room. You make it sound like you were at a fucking like dangerous club. It's always like, you know what we're doing? We're gonna watch The Gathering.
Hey, Tony, put on that Children of the Corn 2.
fucking James Gandolfini. Hey, Tom. Hey, T. What the fuck are these kids doing? Stabbing all the adults. If I wasn't there, I would be fucking capping these motherfuckers. That would be amazing.
What the fuck is going on in this movie?
Because why are the children killing people? AJ's here. Hey, buddy, I'm gonna watch this after I see part 3 Sunday, dude. This was a really fun episode. I'm so happy that Nate could join me tonight. But everybody, I want to say thank you so much for joining. This was a great time talking all things Guardians of the Galaxy. If you, like I said, I know obviously if you're here this long and you haven't seen part 3, you know, I highly recommend you do go it or see it again because I really liked it. I will definitely buy that fucking movie on 4K because I love every minute of it.
I'm hoping they release a trilogy. I was just thinking that too. 4K trilogy set. Yeah.
Give me a 4K trilogy set of these movies and I will buy it on day one because I think it would be perfect.
Hell yeah.
But that is going to be all for the show tonight. I am Groot and he is the horror boy, the explorer of horror, Nate. And dude, nothing but 2 sweet vibes. 2.
It's the power hour on the graveyard, baby.
Baby. Nathan, Max, and Hans, and Groot, and Grande's graveyard. We're going to be 2. We'll catch you next week. I believe the winner of the poll was 1983. So next week, 1983, the year in review. I'm super excited for that. We will catch you next time.
Nice.
Only on the graveyard. 2 sweet. Peace. And we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.